So this is something I posted to you guys earlier in the week, and I hope you thought about it. So we have this thing going on in WWE right now. It's called Retribution. And right now it's a bunch of goobers running around in ninja suits, but they're not the ninjas. Or maybe they are the ninjas, who knows. And they're causing quote-unquote chaos with WWE. They're making the lights flicker. They're throwing Molotov cocktails at generators, and they're chainsawing ring ropes, right? So this is what I wanted to post to you, to both of you, and to myself as well, is, we know at some point Retribution's going to reveal themselves. So I think it would be fun for us to do as a show is to pick people to be in Retribution. Pick what Retribution is. Like, what is the stable, right? Right now they're just kind of calling chaos, but Retribution says something, right? Like these people, the stable, whoever's in the stable needs to get revenge, right? That's what Retribution is, right? So we've seen 5 people, 3 men and 2 women kind of acting. It appears to be 2 women. I think there's 2 women. There could only be 1. But I opposed to you 3 men, 2 women, but you can break it up as you ever want. I hope you 2 thought about this. Who would you put in Retribution and why?
Well, one thing, if they were going to do what I think they were going to do, I don't know if it's actually going to happen, but I think one of the theories I heard was its leader is CM Punk.
Okay.
And now that could work, being that if they go with if his retribution to he didn't like what happened, years ago. He doesn't like the way he's seen, this business is going. He's gathered the people who's been chewed up and spit out by the company, and he's going to get his revenge on the company by tearing it down and rebuilding it from scratch. That's a way you can go, and he can be the mouthpiece. If you don't want him to wrestle anymore, he can still be the mouthpiece for it. That's what I've heard. Now, I could be wrong on that, but it would be something interesting and bring people back. People would watch this do that.
So book it, right? Who's in your Retribution? You're making CM Punk your leader?
Yeah. Now I'm gonna see who else could I bring forth though.
Oh man, I told
you. That's
okay.
I mean,
I'm trying to remember. No,
I mean, it's just in fairness, I thought
it's okay.
Right. In fairness, I thought about it, and my first thought was, well, who out of all the people that got cut a month or 2 ago haven't gone over to Impact already, or have already committed to other things, and just start picking out of there. But I kind of forgot the rest of the list, because the main names I can think of are all people that signed with Impact and or AEW. So I think just the general vibe of maybe something like that. I think the really out there idea that I had, and I've had some people kind of, I talked about this with some folks, and we realized maybe it wouldn't work, but if you want a really off-the-wall idea, you have the leader of the group be Drake Maverick, because he's okay.
Tell me more.
Because obviously the context there is that he was one of the ones who lost their job, and was released, and they ended up playing that into a whole story in which he ended up getting his job back after the Cruiserweight tournament. However, and so that's why I realized that Drake might be kind of out there. But I think if you want to say that he still had a chip on his shoulder about being fired and about the environment of, say, the rest of the, because I think the other thing about it is that he got a contract, but we don't I think he's just kind of on NXT now, and so you could also turn this into kind of an NXT centered thing, because they've only done Retribution stuff on Raw and Smackdown. They haven't done on NXT, and there's various reasons why they haven't done it on NXT, but it seems like the big focus is on Raw and Smackdown. And if the whole point is kind of the main, going against the main roster, you could kind of combine it into a backlash against people, or backlash against kind of the structure of the WWE as it is now. And so I would have Drake Maverick as the leader. I would have, it would either be him or Ciampa as the leader, the actual in leader.
Okay, so you're gonna put
Drake
in it?
If Drake isn't the leader, then he would at least have a motivation to join the group. So for two of the guys, I would have Ciampa and Drake, and I'm trying to think. There's like, because one of the things is that there's so many people on NXT that haven't really been seen in some time, and if they're not on TV, then they almost don't exist. And
true.
So I think from there, it could. That's the part of it. I'm trying to think. As far as Drake, Ciampa. I want to say
that could be something.
I want to say, I forgot his. See, that's the problem. I forgot his name. But it's the guy who's in NXT, who, if I remember correctly, won like the most recent like big battle royal that they did at the last Saudi show. And the reason I would have him in that group is simply because, and the reason I'd have him in that group is because maybe he feels like he has an axe to grind about how he's been treated since he actually signed with the company.
I didn't even think about that. Is a good one. I didn't even think about him.
No, he was on. He's on NXT, but he's barely on NXT.
He's only on when they go to Saudi Arabia.
He signed that's the thing. He signed a contract deal with them. He's also, even though like part of his thing is that he's from Saudi, but he's also been, or I don't remember if it's a culture thing or what. But the other thing is he was also a wrestler in the Northern California area in the Indies. So there's some name recognition, there's some face recognition there. But the thing is, considering
I haven't seen
exactly
him
because he hasn't been used since the last Saudi show, and I
love Mansoor as a pick there.
And so
I really do.
Well, I'm struggling to pick the rest. So my basic idea is people who have an axe to grind because of how they feel that they're being treated.
He's kind of
how about your women?
For the women, that's a little tougher because I'm trying to remember any women that haven't been seen in a while. Because
I can give you my women.
I'll have to come back with the women on that one. So I'll let James go because.
All right.
I'll give you my women right now. Chelsea Green.
Okay.
And Vanessa. We haven't seen Vanessa. Vanessa's been called up. We haven't seen her since February.
Right.
And then Chelsea, she's dropped Robert Stone, and where's she gone?
Right, because she was originally the poster child for that whole thing.
Right, that makes sense. All right, who's your men? So you have CM Punk so far.
Oh, I have CM Punk. Okay, now if I do go that way, I can go Ciampa. I like Ciampa. Ciampa would fit in because he's kind of vanished completely too. Ciampa, and then probably the other one you could go if you want to. Another one could be you want to go Mustafa Ali, and then you can throw Cedric Alexander in there.
Okay.
And right there, you got yourself. Because here's the thing, and that's the speculation of if you look at. I know the people that weren't. The speculation is the people that worked there on Friday are not the actual wrestlers there doing it. And
I was about to. You read my mind here. So I was actually going to mention that as I kind of did it. I think that Retribution is going to be sort of WWE's answer to Dark Order, whereas the Goobers running around right now because they're so tiny. They're like half the size of the referees. All right, they're definitely not wrestlers.
So now I think their theme may be that's just the foot soldiers. They're not at the actual
right. So how like the Dark Order on AEW, they have all these Goobers who are in the Dark Order and they don't win matches. Like I think that's the people who are running around right now. That's the reason for that being that they look like half the size of the referees. Like they're definitely just actors and stunt people, I think, opposed to actual wrestlers. Although it did look like there was an actual wrestler in one of the girls on Friday. But then the people who were running around Monday did not look the same people who were running around Friday.
Right.
So I think this is important to who I've chosen for the group. For my group, for my version of Retribution, I think the Goobers are just Goobers in the same way that Dark Order has a bunch of nameless Goobers. And WWE is kind of answering Dark Order a little bit. Maybe to spite Brody Lee because Brody Lee constantly takes shots at Vince for some reason because he can't let it go, which is but it is what it is. But to come back to that, So I think the people running around right now are goobers. They're going to be real as jobbers. I've heard a rumor that it may be since WWE acquired, I think, Evolve and what was it, WXW, or is that what the name of that one is?
Oh,
And
WXW,
yeah, the
it's
ones that are doing.
WXW,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is in Germany, and
Germany, right?
ICW, which is in Scotland.
One of the theories I've heard is that it's going to be wrestlers from those promotions in Retribution. I don't think that's likely because I don't think they're just going to be like,
I mean,
other than unless they're the goobers.
I mean,
and like not the main people.
I would be okay with that if one of them turned out to be Grado, but that's a whole different topic entirely.
So this is who I think is Retribution. So I think you guys named a couple of names that I've also named. So the fact that there are two women lead me to believe that they're going to be specifically be a tag team, right, to try to invigorate the women's tag team division.
Mm-hmm.
I think Vanessa Born is one of them. There was some photos of her actually being one of the people under the mask on Friday, but she wasn't present Monday. So that's what led me to believe that, okay, these guys are just goobers. But I think Vanessa Born is going to be one of the women. The other women I have tapped for her is Dana Brooke.
Okay.
So what I think Retribution is these underutilized talents. They've been with the WWE for a while. They've never been used properly, never been pushed, right? And so these people are mad, and that's why they want to destroy, WWE. I actually liked your idea of looking through some of the recently fired wrestlers.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it looks like most of them got new jobs.
Yeah, that's what I was realizing too.
So I have picked out one name from the firing list for my list. So that's my women: Vanessa Born, Dana Brooke. Like Dana Brooke's never been used properly.
Yeah.
She's always been a goober as well. Unfortunately.
Well, the problem with Dana Brooke, I always thought they brought her up too early.
They brought her up too early. Like I loved her
because she looked good, and they were like, "Oh,
she looks great." But now, not anymore, not so much. But anyway, Vanessa Born, Dana Brooke.
Okay.
And Dana Brooke's going to be my only white person, too, because I think Retribution sounds like it should be some performers of color. Just because WWE has a history of not pushing them. So I couldn't think of another performer to go with Vanessa Born. Because Chelsea Green, she was on NXT recently. I know Dana Brooke kind of pops up once in a while on SmackDown, but she doesn't really.
See,
she doesn't really matter.
I started to think that Dana Brooke was one of the ones who got fired. Because I know there was Sarah Logan, but she was released, but she's also, I think she was pregnant last I heard. So there was no.
Oh yeah,
she's pregnant.
No, yeah, Sarah Logan.
So there's that whole thing. Anyways,
that's my women.
Okay.
Because Dana's joined the group because she's always been improperly used.
Right.
Improperly pushed, always the butt of the joke.
Right.
Hey, I just thought about it. There's one that we didn't think about. Nikki Cross.
I thought about Nikki Cross, but the fact that I had a waiver to be like, maybe Nikki Cross, because it would make sense with some of the other people I picked. I don't think Retribution is necessarily people who have been off TV for forever.
Right.
Matter of fact, only one person who I've picked who has really been off TV forever. So, Vanessa Born is like the big powerhouse. Right, and then Dana Brooke's often misused character. So for the men, I'm putting in Mustafa Ali. I think between the aborted hacker thing that was supposed to be him and all these aborted things that have been supposed to be Mustafa Ali, even though he was on TV a couple weeks ago, he's been off TV since that one match.
Yeah.
Right. Oh no, he had a match with Bobby Lashley, and then he's losing on main event to Riddick Moss. He has a lot to be resentful about. He needs a heel turn. I think him being in Retribution would be the right move for him. As for a wild card pick, I had thought about it. What do you think about Darren Young? He was released a while. I think he was released a couple years ago. Haven't really heard from him since.
Yeah, he's vanished.
He would kind of be that left field pick. He can come back in. Him and Mustafa could even work as a tag team, or something like that. But he's another one of those underutilized talents. When he's had a serious character, I think he's done well with it. And I think this would be a good opportunity to showcase his talents. And then as for my leader of Retribution is Apollo Crews.
Okay.
I love the look on your face. That's exactly what I was hoping for. She just kind of popped up. Oh. So Apollo, even though he's the U.S. champion right now, he has been mismanaged for 5 years in WWE, right? He's been a jobber. Even though he's this incredible athletic talent. And it's only now that no one else is around that he's started to get used, like the pandemic, right?
Right.
Like it. So Apollo might feel like he's just he's got his spot right now because of, not because WWE thinks highly of him, because they have no one else, right?
Right.
So we first started to see Retribution take effect during his matches, which I think, WWE is not very subtle in their storytelling. The fact that it's benefiting, even though Flickering Lights is not really helpful to him, right? Because he's a great wrestler.
Right.
More importantly, he started to have an edge towards his character, right? He's not exactly acting like a wholesome face anymore.
Right.
He's starting to be edgy. And I think that making him the leader of Retribution makes sense. He's already got a title, right? He doesn't need to join the Hurt Business. He could just be. And I know we're getting saturated with heel factions, but I can't see Retribution being booked as faces,
Right.
just because the way they're acting. And the reason I pointed out that I think the people who are acting as Retribution right now, not the wrestlers, because it's obvious Apollo Crews is not one of them. It's obvious that Mustafa Ali is not one of them running around currently.
Right.
And it's obvious Darren, because they're all white, so it's not even Darren Young either.
I think one of them was, like I said, I think we're right about the Vanessa Bourne one. I think one of them was Vanessa Bourne.
Vanessa Bourne very much appeared to be one of the ones on Friday, but she was not
on
present.
Friday. She wasn't there Monday.
Right.
Right. Because I was looking for her, because her hair came out, so that's
because it was curly
hair. And so I think they replaced her with someone different on Monday to kind of throw us off. But like I said, I don't think the people running around are going to be the actual Retribution people.
Right.
But that's what I'm thinking. I think Retribution is underutilized talents who have been used wrong, talents who think that they should have gotten more of an opportunity in their careers. They've been with the WWE for a long time and they haven't gotten anything, so now they're taking it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that was kind of a similar mindset too. So yeah, I think we're on the same page in that regard.
I mean, I just wanted to fantasy book it. Like we've all heard the rumors and read the dirt sheets. It's probably likely that Ciampa is the leader of this group.
Yeah.
Because he's been off TV a long time. He's kind of that.
Yeah.
He's kind of that rebel.
Yeah.
And he's kind of that cult. He can also be that cult leader if it's like cultish, right? I think likely it's Ciampa, but honestly, outside chance it is Apollo Crews as the leader.
Yeah. I will say, 'cause now that I've kind of had a chance to look at the roster a little bit more, so I do have my couple women to add to this as well. So just to reiterate, the guys that I have on board are Ciampa, Maverick, and Mansoor, and then for the ladies, if off the three guys, two ladies ratio that we were discussing earlier, I would say one of the ladies, and I was just thinking about this because we went back to that conversation about the people that were recently fired, or at least let go, release, whatever you want to use, whatever term you want to use, depending on how long they want to run the angle. Depending on how long they actually want to run things before they even start to do like the reveal, because heck, they waited like 8-9 months in like TNA before they started really revealing like people in 8s and 8s, so there's that. But anyways, if depending on how long you want to run it before you start showing certain faces, you could have Sarah Logan, when she's able to perform again, return and be there. And the logic behind her is, well, for one thing, look at like this kind of weird this weird kind of Riot Squad reunion that they started doing recently.
They've moved on without her.
Yeah, they've moved on without her. All they did was, we're just wishing Sarah the best in whatever, and that's kind of just all. And she basically got left behind, so she could have a reason to have a bone to pick with someone within WWE. In her case, it would probably be more likely that she'd end up feuding with the Riot Squad as like a side story, but that would be a logic for her coming in as part of Retribution, depending on how they wanted to play that. So that's one of the ladies, and then this is also another kind of curveball in some ways, but I was thinking Toni Storm from NXT UK. And my main logic is just to do with the brand itself, because the brand itself is kind of in chaos right now, because with the pandemic and with everything especially when things started happening with the speaking out movement, that put that shine a light on certain things happening with some people that were within the brand, and between that and the pandemic itself, the whole brand's been kind of up in chaos. I don't even remember if they announced anything as far as like new tapings.
It's just been on hold.
It's just been on
they've
hold.
moved some of the talents to NXT, like
Right.
Imperium's been on NXT, they're the champions.
Right. Which
they just moved Rich Holland.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be like a thing to, and that's
Pete Dunne is rumored to be coming back.
Yeah, so that's kind
like
so that's
back on NXT again.
Right, so that's partly my thing. Like that's partly my thing about like having some kind of bone to pick with the company as a whole. So yeah, Sarah Logan would be because of how they treated her being removed, while she was pregnant. I would almost say that as well. And and then with Toni Storm because of the chaos going on with the UK brand, and that would be her way of actually showing up on TV again. So that would be my.
I mean, she's a big enough name, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there were some thoughts. Oh, it might be like the UK people are on Retribution. Like if that was the case, they would be on NXT.
Yeah.
Because they're not. But like I said, I think it's going to be a mix of underutilized main roster talents. I don't think anyone except for the exception of Vanessa Bourne, I think she's in the group.
Right.
Matter of fact, like it's almost
unless the group is how they call up a couple people from NXT. I think you're right. I think it's more likely to be main roster focused since it is Raw and Smackdown that they're actually doing the segments on right now.
Right. All right. So that was fun. Retribution.